This season of So You Want to Run a Restaurant is brought to you by Localizer.
In today's market, the difference between a full house and an empty one is discoverability. And Localizer makes sure your restaurant actually gets found.
Yeah, by making it easy to manage all your online reviews, you'll boost your ranking on Google, Yelp, and even the top delivery apps. And more visibility means more customers walking through your door.
Turn your great reputation into real growth. And as an added bonus, listeners of this show get a 25% off discount on your first 3 months.
Learn how at localizer.com/podcast. That's LOCALYSER.com/podcast.
Hi, everyone. I'm Claudia Sarek.
And I'm Spencer Michael.
And this is So You Want to Run a Restaurant, created by the team at backofhouse.io, the most trusted resource for restaurant tech. So today, we are joined by someone who has helped shape Chicago's nightlife and dining scene, from neighborhood taverns to some of the city's most iconic restaurants. His work really blends hospitality, community culture, and a lot of entrepreneurship.
Carmen Rossi is our guest. He's the founder of 8 Hospitality, behind spots like Joy District and Hubbard Inn. He's been featured for launching dozens of ventures across hospitality and beyond that.
Yeah, and Carmen is also really involved in his community. He also teaches law, so he brings a really unique perspective to the business of hospitality.
So we're excited to dig into his journey, and this conversation, we're really going to be leaning into the business operations side of restaurants, because this guy knows his stuff and is laser focused on the business side of the industry. Carmen, welcome to So You Want to Run a Restaurant.
Hi, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. This will be fun.
Thanks for joining us. Yes. So, Carmen, you have been profiled for building over 70 businesses across hospitality, real estate, other industries, which is just so impressive. But I was reading in your NIU profile where you said you always pictured yourself as a lawyer first. So I'm curious to kick this off with what flipped the switch towards entrepreneurship, and especially then entrepreneurship in restaurants.
Well, it would best serve me, I guess, if I Googled myself. Not that I'm encouraging anybody to do so, because that might help me prepare for some of the things I've said over the years. But you know, so my father was a lawyer and then became a judge, a very stern Italian upbringing, but definitely that hero archetype. So, and education was always important. I never hated school. I did well, I suppose, and kept going. I mean, I stayed in higher academics through grad school for 10 years. But I think, like, when you're growing up, that proverbial, I want to be a astronaut or I want to be a policeman, although that might have now changed. But then you kind of get into your athletic years and you want to be shortstop for the Yankees.
Right.
But then once you hit like high teens, early 20s, I think everybody thinks, I want to own a restaurant or I want to own the bar for all of my friends and family to hang out at. So there's my Derek Jeter. You know, once I gave up on baseball, which was like after practice 1, when I realized that dream wasn't going to happen. I sort of pivoted, but law had been a big part of my life and remains a big part of my life, as I did go through law school and have a little boutique law firm now.
It's awesome. I grew up in a restaurant family. I grew up in the restaurant business. I was working when I was 14, bussing tables in my dad's restaurant. And I think a lot of people get into the restaurant business because they're passionate about the food, and they have maybe these romantic notions of what it's like to flow throughout the dining room and greet guests, and that's all I really need to do. The reality is so much more different than that. I mean, it's a business, and it's not just a place for you to build to hang out for your friends. So what turned you on to the business side of the restaurants? And maybe expand on that to say, what do you see of other restaurateurs maybe that they are neglecting that they need to concentrate on?
Yeah, that's a point, Spencer, that probably people would gloss over, as it's obvious that the reality of the hospitality industry is very different than what, FX presents, as best they try. But the entrepreneurial spirit for me had been present. I love the idea of understanding that life is not necessarily the matrix, and that there are evolving trends. And for me, I would explore opportunities based on what my friends are doing, what my own preferences are, where I see the dollars in my pocket going, and truthfully, another sort of overplayed but hyper important quip is that age-old adage that you want to do what you love, if you can. And it wasn't that, like, I'm not a chef. I'm actually embarrassingly, now I wouldn't say I'm famous for it, but I'm very consistent. I've never cooked eggs, which I don't think is cool. I don't think that's an asset. I think it's a liability. But
that's my like go-to easy meal when I have nothing else to eat in my fridge. It's eggs.
and it is easy, or so I've seen people do.
Yeah.
But, for me, the job creation, the idea of, hospitality, while tech takes more of a role into it, there still is a community element. I live here. I'm not necessarily or only putting a product onto the internet and being experienced globally. But if you have a brick and mortar store, your family restaurant, Spencer, you worked in it. You would welcome folks that you lived near, that you had repeat customers. I always talk in the development of concepts, the accomplishment, however exciting, in bringing a new customer in the door is the major accomplishment, the asterisk, is the repeat, is bringing them back, getting them to come back after their first experience. And that takes a sense of community. And that excites me. That is a challenge. I'll wake up in the morning and say, we did this well. That's exciting. On the same level of intensity, I can wake up in the morning and say, we need to improve this.
You've got the cook spirit. You're a cook at heart. I know you are. I can tell. I can see another one from a mile away. And
you know what? I'm going to cook eggs tonight. I'm going to try it.
My dad's place served. We did breakfast. We're connected to an airport, or connected to a hotel near the airport, and we did breakfast. So I wish I had never cooked an egg ever. I've cooked far too many eggs in my life, Carmen. So I wish I was in your shoes.
Yeah.
The million egg mark. Yeah. But I like that about you, Carmen, because so many people that we get on this show started off because they loved the food and they were super passionate about the food. And I think that's great. And there's a path with that. Or they started off as a chef and they became really good at their craft and they opened up restaurants and that was the direction they went in. But, I was excited to have you on today too, because you have you've got the business mindset around this and the operations side of this. So two of the big anchor restaurants that you opened here in Chicago, there's a couple of them, but like one of them is Joy District, and I know you have a lot in River North. And for those that don't know, River North is a really hot spot in Chicago with a lot of nightlife, restaurants, a lot of activity. So what's your process for deciding whether an idea is going to really work as a restaurant, or and how do you think through that?
Yeah, so I mean, because I happened to fumble over it earlier on this cast here, I'll stick with the baseball analogy. You're putting together a team, and there are role players, and some of the players you can put in 6 different positions, and some of them go on to, and some of them are just really great at one. So understanding the foundation of putting together a team. Now, by the way, you could really peel that back, because there might be some entrepreneurs who listen to this show thinking about, okay, yes, I need to put together a team, but what is that's Roman numeral 1 sub A. What's the I in that? So, the ability to recruit, players that work well together, it is a really big challenge. The ability to keep people in their lane. And I know that marketing, advertising, consider under the umbrella all the considerations and roles for a business, hospitality aside, any business. There are so many layers. You have legal, You have certainly marketing and advertising. I'm on the executive board for the Illinois Restaurant Association, the Chamber of Commerce, the Illinois Economic Development Corp. And even though there's different, industries represented between those three, a lot of the same thought considerations for which neighborhoods, what style of business, what type. And, I'm a big peer review. I like sharing my ideas. Hey, here's what I'm thinking. Challenge it, please. Don't. I'm not going to let you get away with, yeah, sounds good. Tell me why it sounds good, or more, as equally enjoyable. Challenge it and tell me, Carmen, you are way off here. Like I don't agree.
You got to be willing to call the baby ugly. That's what my old boss used to say. He's like, are you willing to call your baby ugly? Don't put lipstick on the pig. That was always what he used to say. And I'm like, you're not wrong.
I'm going to be using that today.
I love All right. So we've got eggs and calling our babies ugly. Amazing.
Yes.
We're on the right track. This show is going
great.
This
is shaping me. I've never been so excited for my future here. I am, I will say that Chicago especially is such a special city.
Yeah.
I don't, that those 77 communities that we talk about and that I think, we've really leaned into and embraced from a branding point of view. So many of them you can achieve success in the hospitality industry. Not everything has to be so big. Spencer, it'd be a fun pint on a sidebar to just spend hours talking about how much the industry has shifted since when you started as a busboy, and what you saw is, how we take orders, the customer experience. I mean, I never worked in back of house, and I wasn't a server or bartender. But wow, does my heart go out to the people who work in the industry. And I see the pros to the job now. I kind of see, it's changed. You don't get those cash tips, which was big, because that could be, let's call a spade, phantom income that allowed you to be, now everything's reported, everything's documented. It's put on your check. There's taxes, all this stuff. And, now that your customer is an expert, you used to just go out to a restaurant and say, what's the special? Yeah, I'll try that. Now, if you're 35 years old, you're not going to try anything. And if you say, are there any dietary restrictions? You're being presented with somebody's medical history. And they have to, and then
and you got to know it. Yeah.
Right. You got to know what that means. And then chef needs to make 7 different adjustments. Like, that part of it can be quite, I can imagine it could be a challenge in and of itself.
Yeah, you definitely hit on a couple things there. I was out of the kind of the front line serving while I was still getting cash at the end of the night. And, I think after we produce this podcast, Canada Revenue will be maybe sending me a letter about the phantom income that I was apparently making. But it's, not
it was
not
7
untrue.
Years ago, though.
Yeah, it was way too many. Yeah,
you forget, Spencer. You're on a call right now with a lawyer, so Carmen knows.
Don't worry, we got you. I got a whole...
just read up on British Columbia law before you talk about how much money I didn't make. Okay, but I think that's such a key piece is the fact that the fundamentals are still there though. You still got to do great food. You have to give excellent service, and then when you bring in these new functions, whether it be new technology or a new way of communicating to your guests, you have to kind of ground yourself in the fundamentals of the industry. I would imagine how do you do that within your spaces when you're bringing all these new kind of ideas into the space?
Yeah. And by the way, as you go through this, it'll be fun that when you recognize that you ask me a question and then I answer something totally different. So I'll try to stay on the cue here. But so, when it comes to the importance of hospitality, I have 2 major thoughts. First of all, technology itself has changed the experience. In Chicago, there's a famous burger, right? And it's from a restaurant called Au Cheval. It's in the West Loop, but now they've really expanded out and all the small chevals, and it's a great product. But it was a small store, maybe 2,000 square feet, and the line would be out the block. And it was part of the experience. You'd wait in line, and you'd go with a buddy, so you'd have somebody to talk to. And when you got in, you were ready for that darn burger. Like
you were very hungry. I know from experience.
Right, the anticipation was there. You could go on Uber Eats or whatever. You can go on an app, and they'll deliver the burger to you. And you could stay in your pajamas, and you could stay watching whatever Netflix series episode you're on, season 1,000. But the idea of getting that food, so right there you have to say, okay, if I'm going to get you out of your house to eat the thing that you want, we got to make this special. If it's not going to be fun, or if it's not going to be unique, stay home. I'll get the same thing I wanted to eat without having to put socks on. Not that you have to wear socks to go out. So now I've got you out. Now we're talking about what I think is like sustenance. At some point in time, people would stop on their way home or on their way to the train or on their lunch break because they were hungry, or they would get, the proverbial burger and a pint, or because they were, it's way more than that now, right? Now dining is an experience. And where that delta becomes is the difference between service and hospitality. And hospitality comes with a mission statement. Hospitality it involves everybody. Everybody is participating in that customer's experience. Everybody that works on the team, because this isn't just a measure of taking your order and bringing you your food. There is more. And where do we see it? We see it in the design. We see it not only in the decor, we see it on the plateware. We're trying to make everything very interesting, because we know, or we better know, that you could get the food without having to move, pretty much, delivered to your door. But again, it goes back to what I love about it. That this is evolving. And there are times where the trend passes. I'm behind it. We didn't make the adjustment fast enough. We didn't see it, or we underestimated it. Come on. Now we're working overtime. That's not something to throw your phone down or sort of give up. That now it's the rally time. We're flipping our hats and we're rallying.
Want to save more than 12 hours a week by automating hiring, onboarding, scheduling, time tracking, payroll, and reporting? Imagine eliminating paperwork with built-in compliance and document tracking. It might sound too good to be true, but Push Operations makes all of this and more possible in one easy-to-use platform. Visit www.pushoperations.com and mention Back of House in your demo to get 20% off a new subscription. Technology decisions can make or break a restaurant. That's why restaurants turn to Back of House, your guide to smarter tech strategy. From point-of-sale systems to online ordering, labor tools, and guest engagement platforms, Back of House helps you cut through the noise with expert insights, comparisons, and best practices. Don't just buy tech, build a strategy that grows your business. Visit backofhouse.io and get the clarity you need to choose the right tools for your restaurant.
And everything seems to be, you need to reverse engineer starting with the guest. Every decision you make, you have to start with the guest perspective and then pull back, which is interesting. You talked about the plateware. And if you're like, how is it going to look when it hits the table? What's the guest going to feel about that? That's something I don't think that a lot of people would never really go into that level of detail on.
Yeah, and it becomes a little stressful. It becomes fun. But you try to imagine like when it comes to drinking as well, and the cocktails, the different carafes and glassware, the different ways, the different straws. I mean, the granularity. Yes, I'm going to say it's a word.
It's a word on this show.
Yes, is it becomes part of the process, and I think that's really, right before you sign the lease or you You move the capital into the account to begin to go. You have this eerie, sweaty palm, anxious moment where, hey, are we doing this? Like, do we feel good about this? And while that may be on the more romantic side of idea iteration, it is a compilation of all those thought considerations, all those conversations with the community, walking the stores, not only the other restaurants or QSRs in the neighborhood, but the other boutique stores.
When you're so to go back to the kind of that, and you hit it on the head. Like my dad's place was not at all fine dining. It was it was a diner joint. It was a breakfast joint. But that's exactly what was needed. I guess when you're looking at your audience, when you are doing that reverse engineering, is there specific criteria, or are you trying just to match the vibe of what you think is coming in, or are you trying to maybe go into a neighborhood like, I think this neighborhood is lacking this piece?
Sure. So now, again, we are accepting my premise as a result of my background and personality, because I'm not a classically trained chef, right? Imagine if I had a recipe for a pizza bread with my combination of flour and then a very certain special water. And that's what I would do. I'd be going into the neighborhood to say, is my pizza going to catch fire here? Or imagine if I was, my first thought was to say Tom Cruise and Cocktail, but anyone under millennial, and probably most, won't even understand that. But
they should know it. They should.
They should know it. Our audience should know that.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. But if I was a personality behind the bar that people, you can make yourself a Manhattan in your apartment, but watching me do it and my engagement with you, or if I had special, skills and cocktail recipes, then that's what I would do in the specific. I don't have any of those skills. Query as to what skills I actually could identify. But I'm going into a neighborhood and I'm saying, okay, what isn't here? What's complementary? And again, because I've said that had I grown up in Los Angeles, had I grown up in Miami, other, major metropolitan, I don't think I would have been able to find any similar sense of path. I've done this before and failed. So I've gone into a neighborhood in a very popular neighborhood called Old Town, a very iconic street called Wells Street. And I looked and I said, okay, what do they have? What don't they have? Okay, I brought in different people and we developed a really, really fun concept. And okay, there's no date spots, but there's all these mid-20s and 30s and so many couples, and it didn't work. And that is a gut punch. And because I own the building, that wasn't the end of the story. You couldn't just give back the lease and move on. I mean, okay, what's Act 2? And you had to start all over with knowing that you just failed. So the principles that you believe are effective, that you deployed with discipline, didn't work. How are you going back to the whiteboard, right?
Yeah.
And time is an enemy. Time costs a ton of money. So, I mean, and we pivoted, and it, the second iteration was quite successful. But there is a very different, Spencer, to your question, there's a very different thought consideration that I will have, or a checklist. And while you would think, okay, what's not here? What is the age demographic? What is the earned income? What is I've met with the neighborhood association. I've scheduled a meeting with the alderman. I understand what other businesses are coming in that haven't been announced yet. Like, I talk about due diligence. We've done this, and here's what I've landed on. And even sometimes that doesn't work. And you have to accept that.
Yeah. I mean, that's such the entrepreneur story, though. And I feel like you have to have a really strong sense of resilience in you to do this. And I feel like it's even like doubled, triple when it's in food service, because there's so many things stacked against you when it comes to costs and labor and all of these other issues that restaurants are facing. And, you know, it's like with tech, you have a product, but you can kind of keep reiterating and like building out the code and doing what you need to do. But this is all like in front of the customer when you're trying to do this in a restaurant. There's no like hiding behind the back end of a code and trying to build it out and like, we're going to get there. We're going to build another iteration and do this and this. And I just think that, you know, the failure that you experienced probably taught you a lot, and is probably a lesson for a lot of other people that are going through this.
Yeah, Claudia, huge word circled 10 times, resilience. And I think that has to be, you know, as we're making our chili, that's got to be one of our big ingredients. I teach at the University of Illinois undergrads, and as you can imagine, it's just like a class of tangents, you know, me just flying off the handle.
I bet it makes it interesting, though. That's an interesting class, you know?
I don't get to see the exit surveys, but I can't imagine what they say. I haven't been canned yet, but query. So the idea of building a pro forma or a business model that imagines failure. So failure isn't, I didn't experience it once or twice. I've experienced it a number of times. And you're right. Yeah. It's a dark feeling. It's a really humbling experience. Sounds generous. I wish I was just humbled. I wish I wasn't broken and sad, and you know, it's isolating, and it's sort of on you, in a sense. And what it has taught me in part is not only running through a model. You know, there is no guarantee of success, but can I create some back doors and pivots? So now it's like when you build something, I'm also building for a pivot as well. And that's something that that's a micro little addition to my my recipe model, but that there is an example of now, okay, this style of equipment, because we could turn this style of furniture, because we could, you know, this. So there is something about having this sense that pouring your heart and soul into something doesn't mean that if it's not a 100% success, you should have never done it and you're filled with regret. That's not it at all.
I think resiliency it's the right word for obviously the restaurant business, but I think for anybody, I felt that there was this almost culture of, you know, with the Steve Jobs, do what you love and the money will follow type of, and don't be afraid to fail. And it was almost these graduates were coming out like, I can't wait to get out and fail because I'm going to learn. Well, pump the brakes. It's like, it's like you said, I wish I was just humbled. I was broken. It was a dark, horrible place that I was able to come out of. And I think that's like, I look forward to being resilient is almost the way you should look at it, as opposed to, I can't wait to just fall flat on my face and make a fool out of myself. Like, no, wouldn't it be better if it was just it's a success and you didn't have to worry about that?
Yeah. It's something I look for in people, and I bet you 100%. A lot of not only you two, Claudia and Spencer, but also a lot of your audience. You could tell pretty quickly if you're going to like working with somebody, or if you feel like, oh, we're going to work together. And again, nobody bats 1,000. We're really baseball analogizing here today, but
Claudia and I are still trying to figure it out. Like, we're still like, it's just, this is a long-term vetting process.
There's still kind of a lean,
right.
You know, but those sorts of character personality traits, the idea that, you know, the sun will rise, and yesterday was a really bad day in the restaurant. Everything that could go wrong did, and then a few things we didn't even imagine could happen took place. And you just, that sense of defeated, like you're not even listening to music on the way home. It's just a quiet ride because this day effing sucked.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be in that trench alone. yeah, it's great if you own 100% and it's profit distribution day, but I promise you'd give up some of that in order to have, on the bad days, somebody to your left and right standing with you. And that goes to all the team members as well. But it's also another layer of analysis it's why I think second and third interviews have become more common and popular and necessary, because the cost of pivoting is greater today than I think it was. And the idea that somebody will pivot, the same things that you try to, build your business acumen by going to the gym and adding those skills, you want to see in others. You want to work with in others. So,
yeah. Okay, switching gears here a little bit. When it comes to the innovation that's happening in food service, and I know you talked a little bit about that in the tech side of things, where are you placing your bets right now? Are you excited by the entertainment formats, the date, like expansions, non-alcoholic programs, chef collaborations? What's what are you seeing that you like?
Super cool / hyper scary topic that I'm having a meeting this afternoon. I've brought in my team. I'm talking about it almost obsessively. So rethinking restaurants, rethinking hospitality, the evolution of the industry. I think we're in it right now. This is my hot take. There's my Gen Z millennial word of the day. My hot take is that the post-COVID is now a few years in the rearview mirror. It absolutely did affect the teens who were in high school, their experience, the college experience. It affected the home life. It affected parenting, the way we teach, the way children learn. It affected hospitality. It boomed technology. I mean, it touched everything, and the effects are still there. Well, one of the, hospitality right now, if you follow the trends or if you click on the article links, is in a recession. You're seeing a lot of closures. You're seeing more closures than openings, evidenced in data. You're seeing more. You're seeing less business permits and business licenses applied for in an annualized, over time perspective than you have in however many years. For me, experience is going to play a super role. It's not just enough to open a store and have a cuisine. And even if you are, the cost of only being on the apps, if you develop a full kitchen and you have salaried employees and you have front and back of house staff, the app, because of the nature of fees and everything else, you won't be able to afford the brick and mortar. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're going to rely just on tech, you're more of developing a ghost kitchen for your great food. But if you're saying, no, I have a great product, the idea of A locations. Well, I just signed a lease for an A location. So we'll do good. I'm at the corner of Main and First. Less important today. How many times are you going a few extra blocks? Because who cares? I mean, A, you're not driving. B, you're entertained. You don't mind being in the car because you're answering emails, texts, on a phone, watching TikTok. So, the modern entrepreneur in hospitality is really going to have to understand. I mean, nightclubs, I bet you in the city of Chicago, there are as few of nightclubs as there have been since the beginning of nightclub.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
They have all closed. All is exaggeratory, and
a lot of them, a lot of the big ones,
a lot of them,
the
and
really
none of them are
popular
opening.
Ones.
None of them are opening, and the ones that are opening, including mine, aren't. You're not doing peak years. So I have a huge space. I own the building. I have a concept that's operating. I can't just say, well, this isn't working. The keys don't drop. So what we're doing now is saying, well, wait a minute. is nightlife entertainment, the idea of humans connecting, whether it's through dance, whether it's through energy, whether it's through blowing off steam, not being trapped in your dungeon-esque apartment. That's not going away. And nor is American culture shifting. And nor am I even remotely suggesting it. What I am saying is, wait a minute. What we're doing now, this show, we need to mix it up. And I actually use the word show. I mean, Broadway in New York had a massive year this year. What is that? That's shows. It was and they had a lot of big names and a lot of different styles of shows, but maybe showmanship is going to play a larger, maybe there will be, instead of just a decor, maybe it is a set. We see these ticket links for experiences like pop-ups. Those you see long lines for, you see tons of tickets, those are successful. A resurgence in major entertainment venues like Disney World, like Universal. I went to those places growing up. I don't remember alcohol ever being present. Now, maybe I wasn't looking for it, but now it's front forward. They're developing bars as part. It's not just Magic Kingdom and the Pirates of the Caribbean. It's the Pirates Tavern, which actually I just read about. But that's they're leading forward. So
I was at Disneyland with my daughter recently, and we enjoyed a nice glass of wine in their little their California wine adventure area that we came across that, and our next turn to what is this?
It's like Disney with an edge.
Exactly. Yeah.
Edgy Disney.
Yeah, it's like, we're taking a break, kids, but I want to sit down.
Yeah. Yes.
Sorry, Carmen.
No. Well, but no, I'm glad you said that, Spencer, because I'm not the only one seeing it. There are major considerations. The labor everything has gone up. Everything is up. You want to build something, wood is up, labor is up, your carpenters, your electrician, HVAC prices. Heaven forbid you need steel. Everything is up. Individual labor. Minimum wage, Chicago is baffled on their elimination of the tip credit. If everything is just passed to the customer, and yet I could order that smash burger and stop by the grocer to get my favorite beer and sit and watch Wednesday season 2 on Netflix. Not that's my show, but I saw that it was promoted.
Yep.
I think that's so now it becomes obligatory of the restaurant or hospitality entrepreneur to combat that and pull people back in.
I mean, it's the world will always need restaurants. They'll always be there, and it's such a volatile business at times, but it'll never go down to zero. It'll morph, it'll change, and I see nostalgic posts about the Rainforest Cafe, like those theme-based places. Remember the place when I was a kid? These kids will never know. I was like, well, is that what you're talking about? The return of the Hard Rock and the Rainforest Cafe, with this giant theme where you can get the mist will rain on you while you eat a burger, and is that what it's going to turn into?
You know what, though, Spencer? Apparently the Rainforest Cafe in Chicago has turned into a secret nightclub. Have you seen this, Carmen?
Yeah, I've it's a huge...
You're like, I visited it.
I wish I was behind it.
It's all these secret, it's all these secret pop-up places, though.
Speakeasies as well.
Right. As you said, they go viral.
Yeah, there's been a lot of really cool, as a result of the next generation maturing and seeking different thrill. How about the coffee shop rave, where there's no alcohol, but there's a DJ set up and everybody's partying with intent and intensity, but it's still a coffee shop. I mean, there's these pop-ups, the experiences, also the tickets, like pre-buying a ticket for entry. That was not a thing in the 90s and 2000s.
Right.
Like you didn't have to pre-buy a seat necessarily, unless, I think that, I think that becomes more of a potential element to your concept.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to seeing how experiences evolve in cities and beyond when it comes to food, showmanship, live cooking. Who knows where this is going to go? But anyway, Carmen, it was great to have you on today.
Oh, thank you so much. I had a blast. And congratulations. And to all your listeners, what a great show to subscribe to. So
thanks.
Hope to do it again.
Thank you so much. So You Want to Run a Restaurant is created by Back of House, produced and hosted by Claudia Sarek, with Nick Florick as executive producer. Marketing by Hillary Young and Ashley Dunn. Creative by Manisha Kishenchand. And live production by Sarah Heemstra. And of course me, your co-host, Spencer Michael. For more information, visit backofhouse.io/podcast.